Good evening. Welcome to the January 13th City Council meeting. Please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Argenzio.
Here.
Here, Councilor Giannino.
Here.
Here, Councilor Guarino-Sawaya.
Here.
Here, Councilor Haas.
Here.
Here, Councilor Jaramillo.
Here.
Here, Councilor Kelly.
Here.
Here, Councilor McKenna. Here. Here, Councilor Novoselsky. Here, Councilor Silvestri.
Here.
Here, Councilor Zambudo.
Here.
Here, and Council President Cogliandro.
Here.
Here, quorum is present. Approval of the journal of the regular meeting of December 9th.
So move.
So ordered.
Point of personal privilege, Mr. President.
State your point, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. President. On December 21st, Revere lost Peter DiGiulio. I just want to take a minute to remember him. He was a longtime educator, more than 40 years. I grew up, I went to the Lincoln School, and I had Mr. D, as he was known back then, as a health teacher. And, you know, it's funny growing up, you know, we talked about health, we talked about everything in the schools, sports, and then later on in life, we ended up talking about our children and our families. But he was a great man, became great friends later in life, and we always had a connection. We shared a few laughs at the Thanksgiving Day football game, and just want to say we're thinking of his family. Thank you. Sure.
Calendar item number 3, approval of the journal of the regular meeting of December 16th.
So move.
So ordered.
Calendar item number 4, election of the 2025 City Council President.
I will motion to move to the election.
First ballot for the 2025 City Council President. Councilor Argenzio.
Councilor Mark Silvestri.
Argenzio voting for Silvestri. Councilor Councilor Giannino
Councilor Max Silvestri.
voting for Silvestri. Councilor Guarino-Sawaya
Councilor Mark Silvestri.
voting for Councilor Silvestri. Councilor Haas.
Councilor Mark Silvestri.
Councilor Haas voting for Councilor Silvestri. Councilor Jaramillo.
Councilor Mark Silvestri.
Councilor Jaramillo voting for Councilor Silvestri. Councilor Kelly.
Councilor Mark Silvestri.
Councilor Kelly voting for Councilor Silvestri. Councilor McKenna. Councilor McKenna voting for Councilor Silvestri. Councilor Novoselsky.
Councilor Mark Silvestri.
Councilor Novoselsky is voting for Councilor Silvestri. Councilor Silvestri.
Councilor Silvestri.
Councilor Silvestri voting for Councilor Silvestri. Councilor Zambudo.
Councilor Mark Silvestri.
Councilor Zambudo voting for Councilor Silvestri. And City Council President, Councilor Cogliandro.
Councilor Mark Christopher Silvestri.
Voting for Councilor Silvestri. Councilor Mark Silvestri is the 2025 City Council President. The city clerk will now proceed to administer the oath of office to Councilor President-elect Silvestri. Council President-elect Silvestri, please raise your right hand and repeat after me using your own name after I say aye. I
Mark Silvestri,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as City Council President
as City Council President,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth.
of the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Barb.
Thank you. I'm going to be real brief. I want to thank everyone who's here tonight. I want to thank my colleagues for your support. As I said before, we're never always going to agree, but I think we all can agree that moving the city forward is the most important thing, and we have to do that together. So I hope 2025 we can move on and make it the best city for Revere moving forward. And we have this here. Councilor Cogliandro actually gave me the, I'd say guts and the understanding that I was able to handle the role. He showed me that even being young onto the council, that there was ability of leadership and guidance. And I look forward to taking a little bit of your page, buddy. And congratulations, man. Thanks, man.
If I may, I just, again, I think I've thanked the council 100 times this year for their trust in me. The one person I haven't thanked, and the most important person, is our city clerk, Ashley Melnick. Anyone who is lucky enough to sit back here understands how important she is to the city, but let me tell you, I have never had somebody have my back like she did as president. If I was successful this year, it was only because of her guidance and knowledge, and I just want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, can we have a motion to elect a vice president?
Sure. So we're on calendar item number 5, election of the 2025 City Council Vice President. Councilor Argenzio.
Councilor Joanne McKenna.
Councilor Argenzio voting for Councilor McKenna. Councilor Cogliandro.
Councilor Joanne McKenna.
Councilor Cogliandro voting for Councilor McKenna. Councilor Janino.
Councilor McKenna.
Councilor Janino voting for Councilor McKenna. Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Counselor Joanne McKenna.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya voting for Councilor McKenna. Councilor Haas.
Counselor Joanne McKenna.
Councilor Haas voting for Councilor McKenna. Councilor Jaramillo.
Councilor Joanne McKenna.
Councilor Jaramillo voting for Councilor McKenna. Councilor Kelly. Councilor Kelly voting for Councilor McKenna. Councilor McKenna.
Counselor Joanne McKenna.
Councilor McKenna voting for Councilor McKenna. Councilor Novoselsky.
Counselor Joanne McKenna.
Counselor Novoselsky, voting for Counselor McKenna. Counselor Silvestri, Counselor Zambudo.
Counselor Joanne McKenna.
Counselor Zambudo, voting for Counselor McKenna. And City Council President Silvestri.
Council Joanne McKenna.
City Council President Silvestri, voting for Counselor McKenna. Counselor McKenna is the 2025 City Council Vice President. Council Vice President-elect McKenna, please raise your right hand and repeat after me using your own name after I say aye.
I, Joanne McKenna,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as Vice President of the Revere City Council,
as Vice President of the Revere City Council,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
say it again,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of the Constitution
of the Constitution
and laws of the Commonwealth.
and laws of the Commonwealth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations,
Thank
McKenna.
you. I am nervous. 10 years and I'm nervous. Do you believe that? Thank you very much for the support of my colleagues. Thank you very much. And thank you to Ashley Melinek, who has had my back also for the last 10 years. Thank you.
Next up is Rule 34, public comment pursuant to Chapter 402 of the Acts of 1965.
Okay, anyone that is a Revere resident or business owner that would like to speak on anything on the agenda, this is your opportunity to do so. After this 30 minutes, that will be closed, and we'll move on from public speaking. Do we have anyone that wants to speak on any topic tonight? Please state your name and address and agenda motion.
Okay, yeah.
Again, Wayne Rose, 360 Revere Street. I just have a couple of questions. Is it going to stay on now?
Which item will we be speaking on, Mr. Rose?
Keeps going off. I turned it back on, but it keeps going off. It's working now.
Yeah. Just stand here and it'll be fine. No.
So, I'm just wondering, does the state need permission to put migrants in in any hotel in Revere? jeopardizing the safety of our citizens. My second question is there any way to change how our state is a sanctuary state? So that makes us all a sanctuary city, even though we say we're not a sanctuary city, we fall under sanctuary state. Is there any way that Revere can change that? Those are my only two questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Rose.
Do I get an answer to my questions, though?
Well, it's legislation that comes to the state. We can request and ask for support in those areas, but these are out of our purview as a city council for us to address.
So the city council has no right to say that migrants can't be in hotels in Revere. Is that what I'm getting?
I believe so.
Wow, okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? Name and address and the agenda item.
My name is Anthony Cantino, and I'd like to ask the chair a question. What is on the agenda? I don't know what's on the agenda. Because I like to talk about the school, if I can. Is that on the agenda?
No, the school is not on the agenda tonight.
Well, if it isn't, they should repeal it anyway, because it's going to send the city bankrupt, and you're all going to be in receivership.
Thank you, Mr. Catino.
$500 million for
Mr.
a
Catino,
school.
that is
I don't
nothing-
even think Harvard and Yale is worth that much.
Thank you. Any other comments for anything going on tonight's agenda? Thank you very much. Next calendar item, ma'am.
Pursuant to Rule 23 of the City Council Rules of Order, the following motions or communications are being reported out of committee with a recommendation to be placed on file. Calendar item number 6, motion presented by Councilor Cogliandro that the City Council hold a meeting in executive session with the mayor and city solicitor pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, for the purpose of discussing the ongoing eminent domain litigation relative to the Wonderland site.
Councilor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Place on file, we just had an executive session on this.
Thank you. Place on file.
Calendar item number 7, motion presented by Councilors McKenna and Argenzio that the mayor request the Traffic Commission to assess the activation of the 15-minute grace period button on parking meters in the Broadway Central Business District. The activation of this feature will provide customers with free parking for 15 minutes to run quick errands without being penalized.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to keep this.
Keep it in committee. Councilor Argenzio.
Yes, I believe we did this a couple of meetings ago. I believe it's going to the Economic Development Subcommittee, and I'd like it to stay there so we can further discuss it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Jaramillo.
Mr. President, of course, it's at your discretion who will continue to chair certain committees, but it's something that we weren't able to finish up in the Economic Development Subcommittee, and I'd love to continue I'd love to take it up earlier this year if I'm still the chair, and if not, encourage the new chair to take it up. So if we could send it right back to that subcommittee, I'd much appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor. Keep it in committee. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 8, motion presented by Councilor Jaramillo that the City Council refer the following proposed ordinance to the Climate, Sustainability, and Workforce Subcommittee for further discussion, an ordinance creating stronger jobs for Revere residents and improving the well-being of Revere's working families.
Councilor Jaramillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. And of course, I know that the council is very committed to ensuring that we have strong jobs in the Commonwealth and in the city. We filed this initially prior to some state legislation that has been passed to ensure that any public money warrants, the ability for project labor agreements and for good, strong paying jobs in our city. Since filing this motion, the legislature has taken up language to enshrine project labor agreements in the Massachusetts general laws, and therefore this motion is actually not really needed anymore. So I'm happy with their discharging it or placing it on file.
Placing on file. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 9, motion presented by Councilors Novoselsky and Guarino Sawaya that the mayor reinstate the outside water meter program to allow seniors to monitor water usage outside without adding the sewage charge. The water department should provide seniors with an acceptable outside adapter for under $40 to enable them to take the meter to the water department for proper credit.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this hasn't been solved yet, and it's still being investigated, so I'd like to put it back in committee, whatever committee the other affairs is going to be in.
Committee. Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
I agree with Councilor Novoselsky.
Okay, this will be going to Human Services Subcommittee. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 10, a presentation by the Chief of Planning and Community Development and Jason Schreiber of Stantec on the Broadway Corridor Parking Study.
Mr. President,
Councilor Argenzio.
I believe that went hand in hand with the 15-minute grace period, so maybe this presentation can happen at the subcommittee meeting.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Place it in subcommittee. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 11, an ordinance further amending the zoning ordinances of the City of Revere, repealing the definition and use of mechanical parking systems. This was originally proposed by Councilor Kelly.
Councilor Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to request that this be sent to a public hearing. Unfortunately, it was not able to be heard on the zoning subcommittee's agenda in the past zoning subcommittee meeting, so I'm requesting that it be sent to a public hearing. Thank you.
Sending it to public hearing. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 12, motion presented by Councilors Cogliandro, Guarino Sawaya, Haas, Kelly, McKenna, Silvestri, and Zambudo, that the mayor, chief of police, and superintendent of schools begin exploring the feasibility of hiring a security company and/or adding more student resource officers to Revere High School to help combat the ongoing and worsening issue in and around Revere High. Further, that the mayor, chief of police, and superintendent report their findings to the city council within 30 to 60 days.
Councilor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since this was filed, they have added campus supervisors that are also security at the high school. There's been a 4th SRO, and they also have the behavioral health unit from the Revere Police Department in the high school. I'm happy to place this on file. It's been very quiet. Looks like whatever's going on is working, so happy with that. I don't know how the co-sponsors of the motion feel.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to echo Councilor Cogliandro's statements. Seems like it's been pretty quiet over there, so seems like they're doing a great job, and I agree with placing this one on file. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Jaramillo.
Mr. President, thank you, and I agree with whatever the sponsors of the order do, but I want to take advantage of this quick moment around public safety to thank the Revere Police Department who responded to various violent incidents that happened in the Revere Street neighborhood last week. Thank them for their bravery and for, it sounds like hopefully there's progress, or there may be progress in that investigation. So really appreciate that. Also for some of the community members who are here present who actually kept us informed at their own risk. So much appreciated. Looking at you, Trouble. And so, but really, I know we have some of the finest men and women of any force, so much appreciated as we talk about public safety. So.
Thank you, Counselor. Placing on file. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 13, motion presented by Councilors Cogliandro, Guarino Sawaya, Haas, Kelly, McKenna, Silvestri, and Zamuto, that the mayor and superintendent of public schools be requested to begin exploring the cost to install metal detectors at Revere High School, and that the findings be reported to the city council within 30 to 60 days.
Councilor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had every intention of placing this on file today, and then last night there was a threat on the Garfield and the high school, which was investigated. It turned out it was nothing to worry about. So I'm second-guessing wanting to do that. I just don't see why we couldn't have portable ones that we could put places in the schools. This is about safety. We had talked about panic buttons prior, so I'm not sure how everyone else on the motion feels about it. I'm kind of torn whether to place it on file or keep it in committee. Thank you.
Councilor Guarino Swire.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was torn as well, but there's nothing more important and precious than our children. And the metal detectors in the school could help keep them safe. Now, I know there's a lot of questions about it, people that want it, people that don't want it, but I feel that in order to keep security and safety of our children at our forefront, it would be a good idea to keep it in committee. Metal detectors, they prevent the weapons to be coming into the school, such as guns, the knives, and stuff like that. And it'll make, just having the awareness that there's a metal detector there will probably not have them bring it into school, and it will protect our children. You know, I understand that many people don't like them, but I think we should keep it in committee, not to let this die down, because it is a very important topic, and just the safety of our kids is number one, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kelly. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambuto.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, want to keep this in committee. I think we need to talk about this, and there's probably a way to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. This year alone, there was 600 or 6,300 guns, knives, all kinds of paraphernalia that went through the TSA in the airport. It was stopped. I think that we should protect our children. I've always believed in metal detectors. I want them here in City Hall. I know people don't agree with me, but if we're going to keep our children safe, then this is the way to do it. So I'd like to keep this in committee. Thanks.
Permission to speak from the chair? Thank you. I see it's the will of the council to keep it in committee, and I agree, because I think that a subject like this is important enough to keep a conversation around. Maybe metal detectors is not the answer, but a conversation at keeping the school safe on how we get there, and invite parents, students, and get everyone involved in the decision. I think it's important, so if the will of the council, I say we put it into Public Safety Committee. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Communications, And it's been requested by the election commissioner that the calendar item number 15 be taken up before 14. It's like putting the cart before the horse on that one, okay? So calendar item number 15, communication from the election commissioner relative to the 2025 municipal election calendar.
Commissioner, name and address, please.
Mr. President, congratulations on your election. This item has been before you in the past. As you know, we have a municipal election cycle coming up. It is the responsibility of the council to set the preliminary election if it is required, and then the dates that revolve around that date, as well as the dates that revolve around the general election. So you have the calendar. If there is a need for a preliminary election, it would be held on the third Tuesday in September. That is in accordance with state law. It is not conflicting at all with the Jewish holidays at the latter part of September. So I would ask for council approval of the calendar as submitted.
On the motion to approve the 2025 municipal election calendar, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Mr. President, the other item on the agenda is 25003 relative to early voting. As you probably know from previous discussions, early voting is required in any state election under the Votes Act. In the case of local elections, there is an opt-in provision in the law. The city has opted in the past. The board and myself as a member of the board are recommending that we continue to do that, since early voting is a common thing now, as well as vote by mail, which we will also be doing for the election. Our recommendation is that we do 1 week of early voting for the preliminary election, if there is one, and 1 week for the municipal. The thinking being that it's not a mayoral race where there's a lot more interest, and that under state law, when it's a state general election, we are required to have 2 weeks. We have the voting, as you know, in this room, and it's a bit of a logistical. I think it works well overall. People seem to like it, the voters, but it's a bit of a logistical challenge, especially when there's council and other board meetings. So this way, it would hopefully, at the most, conflict with maybe one of your meetings in both of those cases. So that's the recommendation, and I do need a council vote of support in order for us to opt into that process.
Thank you, Commissioner Fahey. Councilor Hermel.
Do you know what other municipalities like ours are doing? Are they doing only 1 week also? Or are they
I'm
doing-
not certain, Councilor. I think in general, when it's a non-mayoral election, that is the case, but every community sort of does its own thing. I'm not sure what other communities do, to be honest.
Okay. And what does the state law mandate?
So the state law only relates to state elections, and that mandates that any state election, similar to the one that we just had, does have a 2-week requirement. And for the primary, for a state primary, it's a 1-week requirement.
Would you accept a friendly amendment to include this to be 10 days? That way we can include the preceding weekend to ensure that folks that can't make it during the week can also participate during the Saturday and Sunday before the election?
What I would ask, if that's the council's will, is that maybe we could hold this. This does not have to be approved tonight. The reason being that it has to come based on a recommendation from my board, from the Board of Election Commissioners. I'm not sure that they would be opposed to it, but I think by doing it here without a recommendation, we could be in an issue with the law. So if it's the council's will, I'll bring it back to the board and see what their recommendation is, and then the council can take a future action on doing the 2 weeks or not.
As the election commissioner, is that something that you'd be open to? I guess I don't want to.
Oh,
I don't
no,
want to
as
have you do the work.
the department administrator, yeah, we'll make it work. I mean, there's a cost associated with that, obviously, and we'll reflect that in the FY26 budget submission. But procedurally, the election commission, I mean, honestly, if that's the will of the council, I don't think the election commission as a board is going to say no, but procedurally, we need to. That's how the process works. They have at least 2 of them have to recommend to the council that you opt in to the process. So if, I'm not sure what the procedure would be, but the clerk could probably advise us, just hold it or whatever, but we can certainly bring that back. If that's the will of the council.
Just to allow for participation for working families, that if we could hold this until we hear back from the commission, is that okay with?
If it's the
can
will
we
of the
motion to
council.
that? Yeah.
I think we should take a roll call, Mr. President.
Council Zambudo.
I don't think it's necessary. I don't even think 1 week is necessary for the primary. I think, if it was mandated, I'd be fine, but I'm certainly not in favor of any more than 1 week. If the will of the council is a week, I'll have to go along with that, but my opinion is we don't need it at all.
Counselor, I do think, I don't want to speak to Counselor Jaramillo, but I do think were you going to say 2 weeks for both elections, Counselor, or just for the general?
10 days, not even 2 weeks, just so that we can allow, so a week out before the election. Is it a week out before the election or a week, or 7 days up until the Friday?
We model on the state, so for the state election, for the primary, we do 1 week. So we do the Saturday to the following Friday of the Friday before the election. So
Is
there
that
is
what
a
you would
week-
do?
There is a weekend. That's what I'm recommending. That's
Oh,
what we-
so then, actually then.
So there
if
is
we
a
could-
weekend.
So,
Okay.
okay, yes.
Okay.
It was unclear to me.
Okay,
Whether
yeah.
there'd
No,
be
I'm
the
glad we
weekend, then
clarified
yes,
that.
then.
Yeah. So
then-
the
Actually,
week-
if we could vote on this now,
Yeah.
that'd be
So the
great.
week is inclusive of a weekend. Yeah, yeah.
Love it when a plan comes together. On the motion to approve early voting for the 2025 municipal election, all in favor, all opposed?
Is this for 7 or 10 days? As is. Aye.
Please.
The dates for opt-in early voting would be as follows, as presented by the Election Commissioner. For the preliminary election, if it's required, which would be held on September 16th, the early voting dates for that would be September 6th, Saturday, September 6th, Sunday, September 7th, Monday, September 8th, Tuesday, September 9th, Wednesday, September 10th, Thursday, September 11th, and Friday, September 12th. November 4th is going to be the regular municipal election. Early voting would be held on Saturday, October 25th, Sunday, October 26th, Monday, October 27th, Tuesday, October 28th, Wednesday, October 29th, Thursday, October 30th, and Friday, October 31st.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Yes.
There he is.
Can you just say hello?
Testing.
You got it?
Done. Here we go. It just was that the gooseneck got pulled out of the unit somehow. I just needed to check it. Okay. Calendar item number 16, communication from the policy writer and analyst relative to amendments to fire safety ordinances.
Name and address.
Claire Anzarillo, City Solicitor's Office, 281 Broadway. Congrats to our newly elected council officers. I just want to say this is really small changes. We have some older things getting tossed out, like the Suffolk Downs racetrack, as well as some important changes that add language about fire watches, which we currently do not have at all. They are mandated and authorized by our fire code and by our general laws, but we have no specific language for Revere. And the fire department has been asking for a little while that we get up to date on that. And if there is a public hearing granted by the city council, we will have representatives from the fire department there to answer specific questions and speak in support of the changes we've proposed.
Any questions? Order to a public hearing. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Next up is calendar item number 17, motion presented by Councilor Cogliandro, that the City Council order to a public hearing the following proposed amendment to the revised ordinances, an ordinance further amending rules relative to open meetings. Be it ordained by the City of Revere as follows. Section 1, Section 2.03.050E, open meetings of the revised ordinances of the City of Revere, is hereby amended by inserting the words City Council Ways and Means Subcommittee budget hearings before the word subcommittees.
Councilor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this will make the Ways and Means Subcommittee budget meetings only exempt from the public meeting time ordinance. Right now, that's supposed to meet no earlier than 5 PM. The reason I wanted to do this and make this change is mainly for the department heads that have to report to the budget. They're all showing up here after work hours. They're not getting overtime to be here. And I feel that we would get more and better representation about the budget if we did it during their work hours in the building that they work in. So I just feel this is a good idea. It's more efficient. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure I totally agree with my colleague, which I do agree with him on most things, but I think that if his motive was to protect the citizens and make it easier for them to come to these meetings, I'd feel better about it. But I think department heads have an obligation to be at these Ways and Means meetings whenever they are. And it may sound mean or whatever, but I think that it's part of the job. And so I'm a little hesitant to go and change the ordinance. Sorry.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Hess?
Thank you, Mr. President. Like my fellow Councilor Zambudo, I feel the same way. I feel like it would affect, I think, 4 of us that have 9 to 5 jobs, maybe 5, but I know of 4 that would have a tough time with this. And I know, and I've spoken to Councilor Cogliandro about this, that we could touch base, maybe the next meeting, dedicate a half hour, or however long, to going over what was covered in the Ways and Means subcommittee meeting, and we'd be able to ask questions. But I just feel like us not being there, it wouldn't be right if half the council couldn't attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. So half the council can't attend because it's a subcommittee. With that said, I just, I know, I'm just busting your chops, Counselor. So this is, the way that we do the budget now is we have 4 days from 5 to 7 PM, whatever it is. And what ends up happening is the CFO stands in for a bunch of the departments sometimes, or the commissions, or all that stuff. And I'm trying to eliminate that. I would like to have more communication publicly. And to your point, Councilor Zambudo, this is going to help the public because we'll get to hear and see the faces of the people that are working for them. So I completely understand the opposition to it. It's nothing personal whatsoever. I appreciate all your comments. So just trying to make things more efficient. This is something we could do the budget in a day or 2 instead of 4. And then my idea was to put a motion into the committee of the whole for an hour to have a discussion with the entire council because, some of, subcommittees, you can't sit back here, you can ask questions, but again, we're just trying to make things more time and efficient for everybody, that's all. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. President?
Counselor Zambudo.
On reconsideration of this, perhaps we should keep this in committee and discuss it a little further and maybe tweak it so we can all come to a reasonable agreement. And I'm always happy to charge time out of work, and it's not, my motive has nothing to do with me working 9 to 5.
You must have a lot of vacation
If I
time.
can be convinced that this works better for the citizens or the city council or the Ways and Means Committee for that matter, I will support it. So I think we need to discuss this a little further in committee, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Hess.
Thank you for the leeway, Mr. President. And I will say, that touches on the committee, so we'll talk about this maybe in subcommittee meetings, but it also has to deal with who's on the Ways and Means subcommittee and if they can attend, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Guarino-Swire.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with Councilor Cogliandro. This takes such a long process for every department head to come up to speak to the city council or to the committee that's up here. So for us to actually get correct answers and put a face to who we're talking about, it's best that we do it during the day while they are at work, that we're not taking them on their personal time, and because they don't get paid for this. So I would rather speak to the person who we're hiring, the person who we're giving money to, so we know exactly what they need the money for, instead of having a representative come in and speak for them. So if we do have it in one major day or 2 major days, then it will just get done, instead of waiting an entire week. That's what it takes, is an entire week. And mostly, the public does not go to these Ways and Means budget hearings. So, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Janino.
I'm in agreement with Councilor Cogliano also this year. I'd like to see the face of the person, the department head, at the meeting, rather than a representative or have the CFO come in and talk about it, and be able to question them directly as to far as what they intend to do. That's it.
Thank you, Counselor Janino. Counselor Jaramillo.
Mr. President, I don't know if there's room here for a friendly amendment, but I hear folks about the need to have representatives from the administration to come and speak to us about the Ways and Means and the budget and that stuff. And I would like to kindly remind all of the folks at the dais that we work for and on behalf of the residents of the city of Revere. And what that means is that they deserve full and open participation to all of our meetings, which also means that for the most important piece of legislation that this council does, which is our budget, people who work beyond regular hours should have access to that conversation in person, live. That means that for folks who work irregular hours, meaning not hours between the hours of 9 to 5, they would not be able to attend for the conversations around the single most important piece of legislation that the City Council of the City of Revere does in all of its year. So the friendly amendment would be that we actually ask the department heads to be on hand, and maybe for each of those subcommittee meetings, so that we may have them here after hours. And I understand that this requires them to work past the hours, but the taxpayers work past hours, and salaried employees, as I am one on my 9 to 5 job, sometimes we have extracurricular activities. And if we have flexible managers within our city and our municipality that would allow maybe some flex time so that they have some time off because they worked extra hours on one day or something like that, then we may better serve the taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just kind of starting to feel like this motion's turning into this is against the people. And I just want to put that straight to bed. That's not the case. This is about efficiency, and I think I just heard someone say it. There's not a lot of public participation in that. It doesn't matter what time we have those meetings. Also, we're going to be having a meeting with the Committee of the Whole. This is the idea, at 5 p.m. and on. Now, we start meetings at 5 p.m. Most people work until 5 p.m. I understand that. They can't even get to those subcommittee meetings on time. I know some councilors struggle to do that too, no disrespect to anybody, but this is in no way against the people of this city. This is for them. This is also recorded. It will be live on television. It's on YouTube, and they'll have opportunities to speak at the subcommittee of the Committee of the Whole and at the meeting where we vote in the budget. So there will be opportunities for people to come up, and it'll be good to put it out in advance so that they know the dates. Again, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to sit here and make it seem like I'm doing something to take away from the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. As your wish for the motion?
I think subcommittee is good. Absolutely.
Okay. So if it's the will of the council, Legislative Affairs Subcommittee? All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 18, motion presented by Councilor Cogliandro, that the mayor and chief of police be requested to develop a plan to combat traffic on major holidays where high levels of travel and shopping are anticipated.
Councilor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. This motion was filed for anyone who did grocery shopping at Market Basket on Christmas Eve. Thank you.
Okay. So, anyone else? No? Okay. All in favor, all opposed? Okay.
Calendar item number 19, motion presented by Councilor McKenna that the mayor request DCR to provide the report relative to the structural conditions of the seawall along Winthrop Parkway in Beachmont. Further, that the DCR be requested to make the necessary improvements contained within the report by the spring or summer of '25.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So if you've ever gone by Winthrop Parkway in Beachmont and looked at the seawall and looked at the, also looked at the sidewalk, it's in deplorable shape. In 2023, Rep. Turco, myself, and the aide from Catherine Clark's office reviewed the seawall on Winthrop Parkway in Beachmont. It was determined by all parties that the wall was concerning. Supposedly, there was an assessment done by the DCR stating that the interior of the seawall facing the water was sound, but the exterior needed major cosmetic work. In 2024, Rep. Turco requested to see the assessment on numerous occasions, but it wasn't presented to him. So I am asking that this report on the seawall by DCR be given to the Mayor Keefe so the people of Beachmont can have some peace of mind if and when there is a severe coastal storm and it's not a major threat to the community. Also, that this report is valid, which I don't know if it is or not, because no one can seem to get it, and then I'm asking that the seawall exterior, which is facing the street, be fixed by the spring or early summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 20, motion presented by Councilor Cogliandro that the mayor direct the chief of police to work together with hotel management from each hotel within the city of Revere to investigate each occupied room for suspicious and/or illegal activity.
Councilor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is 100% in response to the weapons and drugs that were found inside of a hotel. I just want to be clear about something. I've gotten a ton of calls about this. Nowhere in this motion does it say anything about migrants. This is a public safety issue. The migrant issue is a whole different issue that we're not talking about. Well, at least I'm not talking about it tonight. But the amount of fentanyl that was found, if you distributed that evenly amongst the children in this city, they'd all be gone. That's scary to me. So I also want to say that I've spoken to the mayor, the police, and we got a letter from the hotel management today. Everyone is working together. And I have full faith in the Revere Police Department and the administration to handle this properly, you know, within our power that we can handle it. And that's pretty much it. Thank you. Actually,
Thank you,
I'm sorry. I would move to place this on file unless anyone else has comments. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I just have a question. Is this motion intended, it says here, from each hotel within the city of Revere? I'm not sure if that would be problematic with the Fourth Amendment and illegal search and seizures under the Fourth Amendment. Or do you mean for this to be just intended for the Quality Inn as the EA shelter?
It would apply to all hotels, but I am going to place it on file, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Guarino-Swire.
I agree with this motion. Ensuring public safety requires diligence in screening individuals who obtain emergency shelters to prevent similar incidents from recurring. Hotels have the responsibility to take measures into their hands and do background checks when accepting guests under such circumstances. The collaborative effort would enhance public safety, uphold community trust, and ensure that Revere remains a safe environment for all our residents and visitors. The Revere Police Department has done a tremendous job during this incident, and I want to commend the Revere Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And it's the will of the maker to put on file. All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
For the record, Councilor Jaramillo is recorded as recused from calendar item number 20 and 22. Calendar item number 21. There was a request by Councilor Kelly to order that mechanical parking ordinance to a public hearing, which has already been done by the City Council. Calendar item number 22, motion presented by Councilor Kelly, that the mayor and state delegation request that representatives from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities appear before a committee of the whole of the Revere City Council to discuss the procedures for vetting people who obtain EA shelter. Further, that the appropriate personnel from the governor's administration explain to the City Council and the people of Revere what steps are being implemented to ensure that individuals who may be engaging in illicit activity are not currently and actively in the EA shelter system in Revere, and how to ensure situations such as the recent incident occurring on December 27th, taking place at the Quality Inn, will not happen again.
Counselor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President. This motion also addresses the incident at the Emergency Assistance Shelter at the Quality Inn on December 27th. The public's anger is justified, and I stand with them in demanding answers. It is appalling that a state-run resource funded by taxpayer dollars operating under a unique right-to-shelter law was so fundamentally flawed. We all saw reports indicating that nearly 10 pounds of fentanyl, an amount that is capable of killing over 2 million people, was seized along with an AR-15 assault weapon and ammunition, illustrating an overwhelming failure in procedural safeguards by the Commonwealth. But sadly, it doesn't end there. In December 2024, after months of delays, the Haley administration finally released public records revealing that over 1,000 serious incidents were reported at state shelters between January 2023 and August 2024. This staggering number should have raised immediate red flags and prompted action long before this most recent incident. And it underscores the critical need for stronger oversight and better safeguards. Keep in mind that while this is happening, we have long waiting lists of law-abiding residents, including pregnant women and families, who are in desperate need of shelter. And yet this system, costing taxpayers over $1.1 billion in the past 2 fiscal years, is failing to protect our most vulnerable citizens. Most shockingly, we learned that query checks, background checks to ensure safety, were not conducted on individuals placed in these shelters. For context, I was required to undergo a query check just to volunteer at our senior center. So it's outrageous for me to learn that the Commonwealth did not see the need for such basic safeguards in shelters where children and families reside. This is a lapse in judgment, a clear failure of due diligence, and a prime example of common sense being thrown out the window. I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it. The safety, well-being, and quality of life of our residents must be our top priorities in all decision-making processes. And in this instance, the Commonwealth's decision-making process failed us miserably. Looking ahead, we know that the emergency assistance shelters are set to be phased out. And through the Commonwealth's home-based program, residents may be transitioned into more permanent housing. Therefore, it is crucial that we, as a municipality, are fully informed about the processes and procedures that will be implemented, not only at the Quality Inn, but also for any future housing initiatives that the Commonwealth might establish here in our city. Our community deserves transparency. We have the absolute right to be involved in all decision-making processes by the Commonwealth, and it's time that we demand accountability from the Commonwealth to ensure that decisions made by the Commonwealth do not put our community at risk. This is why I'm presenting this motion this evening. My motion specifically asks that this council support a request for the mayor and state delegation to formally ask representatives from the Executive Office of Housable and Livable Communities to appear before the committee of a whole and vote favorably on it this evening. It is imperative that we have a full and transparent discussion about this recent incident, the failures of the current shelter system, and the procedures that will be implemented going forward to ensure that this never happens again in the Commonwealth and especially in our city. I'd like a roll call vote, Mr. President, if we may. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have any prepared notes for this one, but I do have to say that without getting political, I'll be happy a week from today, because hopefully people are going to wake up that woke is what goes wrong. It's good intentions, and they fall apart. And the perfect example is the right to shelter law was never meant for migrants. It was meant for citizens. But when these good intentions go awry, because we all want to be woke and all want to feel good and feel like we're doing the right thing, that's where we go wrong. So my ultimate hope is that there's going to be a change in this state about this right to shelter law, because it was never set up the way it is now. And I've been on record here in this city council as when people wanted to put a sanctuary city law in. And I made some comments, and some of them got me in trouble, because I said that it protects criminals. Sanctuary cities protect criminals, and here's a perfect example we saw here in our own city. And that's got to end. And we've got to wake up. And I'm grateful that there may be a change in the way people are thinking across this country. It sure looks like it. And that starts a week from today. But we got to look at some of these things, and we just can't have right to shelter becomes right to shelter all immigrants when it was supposed to be the rights of the citizens. It was a noble idea, but this is what happens. And so I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and asked me about this incident with the fentanyl and the AR-15, and I don't have an answer. I say it's a horrible thing, and luckily they caught the guy. But that's going on in more than just the shelter in Revere. Trust me. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Guarino-Swire.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to commend Councilor Kelly for this motion. The recent arrests at the Quality Inn highlights the urgent need to prioritize the safety of Revere residents. With over 1,000 serious incidents, including rapes and domestic violence, reported at emergency family shelters in just a year and a half, it is clear that through background checks, that thorough background checks for shelter residents should have been implemented from the beginning. Governor Healy's recent order mandating that these checks be made is a step in the right direction, but comes too late to prevent significant harm. U.S. residents are required to undergo CORI checks, as Councilor Kelly said. We had to do it for the senior center. We have to do it if we're reading a book to the students, for any type of employment. Yet individuals entering this country, are not subjected to similar vetting, a glaring oversight that undermines public safety. The recurrence of drug trafficking and other criminal activities at the Quality Inn underscores the need for stricter enforcement and accountability to ensure that such incidents do not persist in Revere. Residents deserve a community where safety and security are held at all levels. We need to hold this at our highest standards. It is urgent for the city of Revere and our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Permission to speak from the chair? This is a touchy subject. I agree that it's an emotional topic. I agree that there were protections and guidelines in place that were drastically missed. Those were the governor's own words. She openly admitted that the policies in place were not followed. But I do want to say that, yes, is a problem in our community. Yes, it's dangerous. The amount of drugs, the weapon, it's unreprehensible. But the person staying in that was a mom, and no one knows her issue or what she was in from, but we do know that she appreciated what she had, so much so that she called 911 herself, and she had the man that she was living, or who was living in that room with her, arrested. Now, I'm not saying it makes it right, I'm not saying it makes it correct, but I am saying that it's a situation that is very, it's a lot of moving pieces to it. The governor has spoken on it. The mayor is confirmed to me that he's in touch with the governor, and I think it's now the time to not point fingers and take blame, or it's time to rally together and make sure that what happens is legally and lawfully done. So I believe that our council needs to support the mayor in what he does moving forward. Thank you.
If I may,
Councilor Kelly.
I just want to touch on the fact that, yes, I did also hear that that was a guest in that room. However, I believe the letter that we received from the Licensing Commission today, I'm sorry, the letter in response to the Licensing Commission's letter from the hotel stated that guests were not allowed, that sign-in sheets were required. So this brings me back to this motion, because something is dangerously amiss, because these things weren't supposed to be taking place, but yet they were. And so that's all the more need for bringing these representatives in before us, so that we can have the peace of mind of exactly what's taking place and what's going to take place there in the future, and what policies, procedures are going to be in place. And again, like I said, not only for the Quality Inn, because we know that these EA shelters are going to be phased out, but for any more permanent housing that will be implemented in the future in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Madam Clerk, can we call a roll?
Roll call on the motion. Councilor Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Cogliandro?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo is recused. Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes?
Yes. And Council President Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes, the motion is approved. Calendar item number 23, motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya, that the mayor request the Police Department Traffic Division to initiate a public safety campaign relative to dangerous driving, texting, and speeding with the hope of curbing dangerous driving accidents.
Councilor Guarino Swire.
Motion speaks for itself.
All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 24, motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya, that the mayor request the DPW to install a new no left turn sign on pole number 1001 for vehicles exiting Blanchard's parking lot onto Revere Street. Further, that the Police Department Traffic Division be requested to enforce traffic laws at this location relative to the no left turn restriction, lane blocking, and crossing the double yellow line.
Councilor Guarino Swire.
After numerous complaints from constituents, there are many vehicles that actually just go down American Legion Highway and decide to take the turn on into the Blanchard's parking lot, and then they try to take a left turn to try to beat the traffic light to get onto Revere Street and turn around, or go straight down Revere Street. And it is a major accident waiting to happen, and what it does is creates a lot of traffic that only 2 cars at a time can move. Therefore, if they put the sign in the proper signage place, they have one on Revere Street, but on the opposite side, and people really don't see it, so it has to be on pole 1001, because that's the only way they're going to see it coming out of the parking lot, that they can't take that left turn. Hopefully, it will deter it, but I also need the police to be present there and start giving out tickets, so they realize that this is actually, they are going to get a ticket. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Janino.
It's an excellent motion here from my sister councilor. I'd like to suggest we put the flexible ballards out on Revere Street in front of Blanchard's. I spent a lot of time down there over the years. Made a lot of money for the city on tickets over the years, and it's not working. So I think we should look into more ideas and ways to stop this.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Counselor, thank you for filing this, as we share that road, that part of the road, and I get the calls too, and I thank you for putting this in. It's unfortunate the double yellow lines aren't enough, and I think there used to be a no left turn sign there. I think keeps getting taken down, so I agree, you know, signage and whatever other traffic measures we can put. Thank you very much. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered. Okay. Meeting adjourned till January 27th. Have a great week.